Okay, this is now the horoscope spread part something. I don't know. So, I was going to look at cards today, but I think I'd like to give you a better understanding of a horoscope itself. And this is partly because the more familiar you are with how this horoscope works, the more you're going to be able to do with cards. Because the horoscope spread is really good spread and it's useful. And it's the kind of thing you can do periodically for yourself. It's a very useful, because it covers a lot of ground, spread for other people. But it takes time to get the hang of it, and it takes time to do a reading for somebody, and it's really quite difficult spread to do. It looks easy, and if you go to the internet for information about the horoscope, it looks straightforward, and in a way it is, but at the same time it isn't. And this is the problem with astrology and astrological interpretations or correlations between the tarot and astrology. And that is that people, and this is like everybody, you read a book or two and you think you understand and you think you're capable of understanding everything. And so you build on what you think and what you think you know, even though you don't. And it's a bit like, just because you can add and subtract, it doesn't mean you can do advanced calculus right now or next week. Maybe one day, after enough study, you get to the point of being able to do advanced calculus, but you can't go from adding and subtracting to, the end or the summit. So, if you look online for astrology, basically ignore it, because basically it's just rubbish. Anyway, if you already work with astrology, you can complain or send me an email or something, and I'll give you my opinion on what passes for astrology. Maybe it begins, the first sentence is astrological, but after that it becomes people's personal opinions, and it's not very good. Anyway, so a horoscope, 12 houses, describing or covering or giving information about different areas of life. And we start with, instead of, there are 12 houses, but instead of thinking or learning about 12 houses, you get further ahead and you develop a better understanding if you think of it as 6 pairs of opposites. So I'll go around these 12 houses 2 at a time. So the first and the seventh are opposite each other. So instead of it being the self values and all the rest of it, the first house is the self, and the seventh house is other people. They're opposite. There's you and there's everybody else. But the seventh house also represents a marriage partner. It can represent particular other people, but it represents other people. So the marriage partner, the second child, open enemies. So there are some expanded meanings of the houses, but the first is you, or the questioner, or the self, of whatever it is you're asking about, and the seventh represents other people who may or may not be involved in the question. So you can lay a horoscope spread for somebody, and you say to them, "What do you want to know?" And they say, "Tell me about me." So you turn the card in the house of self. And then you tell them, based on the card that's there, you give them some information about themselves, about what's going on at the moment or whatever it happens to be, how the questioner as a person relates to the question that has been asked. And then you say, "What else do you want to know?" And then they say, "Tell me about my husband or wife. So you turn the card in the 7th house and you talk about the card there and how it describes this, maybe the strengths and weaknesses of the marriage partner, or what the marriage partner is like at the moment. So if you get the devil reversed there, that's telling you something. Or else you get the 3 of Cups. That's a much happier person, the 3 of Cups. The devil reversed, they've got worries, they're anxious, and so you now know what kind of information you want to pass on to the questioner about what the marriage partner can do, because they're represented by the devil reversed. They're stuck, they feel trapped. What are you going to do? So you have to look to other cards to get an idea of what would be correct and appropriate actions that the marriage partner can take to get out of being stuck. And that's the thing about horoscope spreads. It will give you information that is correct and relevant and pertinent for the person at that time. So you're not looking at general rules and platitudes and things like, I can't think of a platitude. Anyway, so think about the 1st and the 7th as opposites. You've got the 7 other people. So when you're coming to learn and understand the meanings of the houses, instead of 12, you've only got 6 pairs of opposites. So we get the 1st and the 7th. Then we have the 2nd opposite the 8th, right? So the 2nd house represents or shows earned income, how you make money, what you spend it on. And the 8th house represents unearned income, because they're opposite. And that's why I'm telling you this, 6 pairs of opposites. The 2nd is earned income, the 8th unearned income. The 2nd is your values, what you care about, what you're concerned about. And the 8th is the marriage partner's values. So, or other people's values and ideas and opinions. So if you look at those 2 together, you get an idea of whether you are in harmony with public ideas, let's say, or you're in harmony with the kinds of things that people are talking about and saying, or whether you oppose them, whether you're on a different track. And that can be useful to know as well, because if you're represented by the devil reversed and you're kind of stuck and isolated, it may be that your values are the same as everybody else's. So your isolation is a personal thing that you're going through at the moment, rather than being the fact that you are an outsider, and so you need to, if you want to get back into society or into the group, then you have to adjust or give up certain things you care about, for instance. The 8th is also death and regeneration. It's change. Think of it as change. You can find things on the internet about the hidden secrets of the 5th house or the hidden secrets of the 11th house, and people will talk for an hour about the 5th house or the 11th house. Keep it simple. The 2nd is income, the 8th is unearned income. And then you can work with that and derive information from it. Then we've got the 3rd and the 9th are opposite each other. So the 3rd is lower education, and the 9th is higher education. So high school or university. So you might want to know, again, it depends on the age of the person. So if you're 20 or 18 and you want to know about whether you've got a chance of going to university, whether you would go there, or how you would enjoy it, or how you would fit in, turn the card in the 9th house and get an idea about what to expect in an institute of higher education. Whereas if you're 65, you're probably not going back to school. So the 9th house would represent foreign travel. So the 9th house represents long journeys, and the 3rd house represents, what's the opposite of long? Short journeys. So you can drive there, or whereas the 9th, you fly there, that kind of thing. So the 3rd is short distance travel, the 9th is long distance travel. But the 9th is also your philosophy. The 3rd is what you talk about, how you talk, how you speak, how you drive. So somebody can be, that's how you can get something like the Tower reversed in the third house. Be careful when you're driving, as a thing, kind of fortune-telling interpretation of your end of the Tower in the third house. Possibility of accidents while traveling, or the possibility of accidents when you're speaking, right? So you may insult somebody unknowingly, or you may insult somebody deliberately, or have an argument with people and yell and scream and fly off the handle with a card like the Tower reverse in the third house. So the third is short distance travel, the ninth is long distance travel. The third is brothers and sisters, the ninth is your in-laws, your partner's brothers and sisters. So if the questioner is, okay, tell me about me, tell me about my partner, and then they say something like, I'm not getting along with my sister-in-law, what do I do about it? So you turn the card in the ninth house, because that's the sister-in-law, and talk about it and what it shows and what you can do, what, if anything, you can do about it. And this is in a lot of ways the value of the horoscope spread, that you can renumber the houses and sort of go more deeply into a situation rather than keep picking cards. Because if you keep picking cards, you end up with contradictory influences, and you don't know whether the last card overrules the first card that you got, or what the fourth card says doesn't fit with what the second card says. So what do you do about that? Whereas with the horoscope spread, there's a logic to it, and you can answer all sorts of questions. So I was thinking before I started the filming that, let's say somebody wants to know, is my second child going to have children? Because people have second children, and then you want to know, are you going to be a grandparent? So the second child is the seventh house. You can renumber that and count 5 houses beyond that. So you turn the card in the 11th house, and that just tells you whether the second child is going to have babies. Okay, so now the next pair of houses is the 4th and the 10th. So the 4th is the home, the 10th is business. So am I going to move? Turn the card in the 4th house to get, and if it shows somebody walking away, yes, you're going to move. If it shows somebody sitting still, no, you're not. You can do that kind of fortune telling with the image on the card and the meaning of the house. So the 10th is business. So what you're involved in, business-wise, how it's going, what to do, what area to choose. If somebody's 22 and wants to know what line of work they're best suited for. So with a question like that, you look to the second, which is how the person makes money. So if the card in the second house shows people, then customer service is probably going to be part of what they do to make money. It's not just customer service, because the 6 represents the services you're meant to perform. And you need to blend those two things. And the 10th is the business itself, the career itself. So you look at those 3 cards, and you come up with a line of work that makes use of the symbolism in the 2nd, the 6th, and the 10th houses. And then, whereas if you've got the Hermit reversed in the second, and the 8 of Swords in the 6th, and the 4 of Swords in the 10th, we're looking more at somebody who works alone and behind the scenes, and maybe with detail. So I'm thinking of somebody who's a coder or a programmer. So if you've got a little bit of artistic ability with the 3 cards, then maybe they design websites. But a lot of the work is done on its own, on your own, let's say. Whereas somebody who does basic customer service, that's a different kind of combination of cards that you would get for that kind of occupation. So the 4th is the father, the 10th is the mother, or turn it around. The 4th and the 10th are the parents. The 5th and 11th go together, or they are opposite each other. The 5th is children, and the 11th is friends. And that in itself is quite interesting, that can your children ever be your friends? Or what shows that your children can become your friends? Because often you fall out with your children, or you fight with them, or they fight with you. So let's say you've got a teenager and you want to know what's happening with my teenager. I just cannot understand him or her. You turn the card in the 5th house, and depending on what's there, you get an idea of what the teenager is going through at the moment. And in the light of the card that's there, you can make sensible suggestions on how to deal with that particular individual at that time. And then the 11th is friends, as well as hopes and aspirations. It's what you're looking for from life, or what your goals are, or what it is that you want to do deep down. And then the 11th is your friends. So what they're about, what they're up to, how good your relationship is with them. Is it time to change them? Are you fed up with them? Do you need new people in your life? That kind of answer can be given from the card in the 11th house. And then let's say somebody wants to know, will my child... No, so I was thinking of something else. I was thinking the 5th is children. And will I have children? But that's the 5th from the 1st. So that's if the spread is for the questioner, who then wants to know, will they have children? You look to the 5th house. So if you get the 3 of Cups there, card of celebration, yes, you'll have children. Whereas you get the 8 of Swords reversed there in the 5th, then conceiving is going to be that much more difficult. And then the last pair of houses is the 6th and the 12th. So the 6th is sickness, and the 12th is karma. And again, you can look on the internet and people will tell you, they'll talk for hours about the 12th house. Forget it. Just think of it as karma, the lessons that you're here to learn. And then you've got something you can say that will be useful for the questioner. So the mistakes we keep making, that we can also stop making and make life better for ourselves. Whereas the 6th, in some ways, it's sickness, but it also represents the services we're meant to perform. And I think it may be that if you're doing what you're supposed to do and performing the services you're meant to perform, you don't get sick. Although that I'm not giving medical advice. Okay, so we've got the 6th and the 12th. So the 6 can represent the work that you do. So if you have a child who has a husband who isn't sure about what work he should do, the 5th is the child, the first child. Opposite is the 11th, which is the marriage partner of the first child. And then 6 houses beyond the 11th takes you back to the 4th. So the card in the 4th will describe or show the prospects for the first child's husband getting a job, or the kind of work that he's supposed to become involved in. And then again, as I spoke about a few minutes ago, you look at the 2nd, how you make money, the 6th, the services you're meant to perform, and the 10th, the career, the business you're involved in. Then if you want to know for the first child's husband, you look to the 12th house, which is his income. The card in the 12th position is his income. The card in the 4th, which is the husband's services. And then the 8th, which is the 10th, starting from the husband. And that's his business. So look, the cards in the 8th, the 4th, and the 12th are going to show, those 3 cards will show the work that the husband is best suited for, or where he's going to find success, or what works, and the kind of thing he should be involved in. And in a lot of ways the value of of a horoscope spread, because you can play with it and renumber things and dive deeply into the symbolism of the houses. And this is just with one set of 12 cards. Because what you can also do, that I may talk about more next video, is you can lay 12 more cards around. So you get a second card for the first house. So you are, let's say, the Devil reverse, but you lay another 12 cards face down, and you turn the new card in the first house. And let's say you've got the Devil reversed, and the second card is the Three of Cups reversed. So what do you say? Stop drinking, or you drink too much, or you're over celebrating, and that means that you're unproductive. So don't celebrate so much, and things like that. Okay, I think that's it. So this will be part whatever, and then next in a couple of days I'll actually look at cards, and talk about the cards that come up, so you can see the horoscope in action, so to speak. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you in a bit. Okay, bye-bye.